I do. I have two girls, Allie and Emmy, and my younger daughter, Emmy, is, if you know her, which some of you do, she just like came out of the womb loving to nurture babies, animals, little things. And we had a dog for a long time. And when he died, we decided to help this little, desire for nurture by growing a garden. My husband always wanted to have a garden, so we tried to put some serious effort into gardening. And turns out that's not the kind of nurture that my daughter was looking for. She quickly noticed the squirrels that were hanging out in our yard, named them, was feeding them, and I kid you not, this is actually real. They would come to our glass door and put their paws on the glass, trying to get in. And so we thought, hey, this is perfect. You don't even have to have a pet. That's your pet. That's your squirrel. So my husband made a house for the squirrel. It's in my backyard still. There's a tire swing. I mean, this is like a legit house for the squirrels. But still, this desire for nurture is still there. And so she's been asking for years, can we please get a bunny? I'm like, honey, when you grow up and you move out, you can get 10 bunnies, but we are not getting a bunny. And then, wouldn't you know it, in June, my husband came home and he's like, what if we did get a bunny? And I'm like, you're kidding me. Well, we now have Winston, and I have to say, I love this bunny. I never thought I would. But I will tell you something about gardening and owning or caring for bunnies and squirrels. They cannot happen at the same time. My garden is pitiful, and partly because I look at my sweet little Winston eating basil, and I'm like, I'm not going to stop him. Look how sweet he is. It's just absolutely decimated our garden. I cannot cultivate herbs and, feed the squirrels and feed this bunny. And it's funny because when I think about gratitude, it's actually the exact same thing. We want our kids to be grateful people. We want to help them be thankful and cultivate that kind of attitude in them. And yet, maybe without even realizing it as moms, what we're doing is that we're not getting rid of the things that are thwarting our attempts to help them be grateful. Like those attitudes or the way they think or things that are just inborn in our kids that we are not mitigating. And so gratitude really can't grow. It's like we're trying to grow gratitude, but we're also feeding the squirrels, if you will. So this morning, what I want to do is I want to kind of take a backwards approach to looking at gratitude by looking at the things that are choking out our attempts to help our kids be grateful and to see if we can maybe mitigate those so that gratitude can grow. The Bible says that we should do nothing in selfish ambition or conceit. And I was thinking about those two words in particular because if you are trying to think of the opposite of gratitude, what is the opposite of being grateful and thankful? Isn't it usually being self-focused, conceited? We don't usually use those words too much now. Selfish ambition is really something we're familiar with. It is the me, mine, don't touch my stuff, that's mine. That me first kind of attitude. And every person on the planet is born with it. We see it in our kids. We know what that is. And yet conceit kind of shows up maybe later with older kids. And conceit is kind of building on that me first mentality, but it kind of moves more into an elevated sense of self-importance, if you will. It's vanity. It's thinking of yourself more highly than you ought to. And when that's the case, if that is how you approach life, you're typically not a grateful, thankful person. I think the word that maybe we're more familiar with that we use now is not, selfish ambition or conceit. It's entitlement. And I just think entitlement kind of sums up that self-focus, that me first kind of mentality. And if we really, really want to teach our kids to be grateful, we have got to root entitlement out. I wrote it this way for your first point. Extinguish entitlement by encouraging humility. In hindsight, that's a lot of ease. I'm sorry about that. But if we really want to teach our kids to be grateful, we've got to find entitlement and root it out. Get rid of it. A couple years ago, my husband and I were doing a taco stand at our church after a VBS. And we expected maybe about 200 people to show up, and wouldn't you know, 500 people showed up. And our friends, so the taco guys, were just sweating to death, just trying to get these tacos out. And so I actually hopped behind with them and was like, tell me fast, how do we make tacos? And we're just trying to help them make tacos. And the line was hundreds of people long, and there's this one lady who came up and she elbowed her way to the front and then came to my line, ironically, and asked for the cheese. And I was kind of looking around, I'm like, I don't think we have cheese. And the guy next to me is like, no, we don't have cheese at the taco cart. So I reported to her there was no cheese, and she just let me have it. Just let me have it. Like, there was no way, in the world she's going to eat a taco without cheese. And I shouldn't have done it. And again, this is not like a proud moment, but I couldn't help it. I just asked her, I was like, I'm so sorry. How much did you pay for those tacos? And it didn't seem to matter. Like, you were given a free gift. This is a free dinner. Who cares if you don't have cheese? And she was whining. And, it got me thinking, I don't think that woman woke up that morning and said, you know what? I think the world revolves around me. I think that was something that she had been fostering and nurturing for years, to the point where she wasn't even embarrassed to stand up in front of hundreds of people and make a scene because she didn't get what she wanted. In a way, I was looking at a grown-up toddler. How sad this woman never learned that it's not attractive to think the whole world revolves around you. That's entitlement. That's the attitude we want to root out of our kids. Don't let it foster and grow so that they don't grow up to be that kind of adult. And what I mean by that, to root out that self-importance, is not that we are, self-deprecating, or that we tell our kids, you're not pretty and you're not smart. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is that we help them to take the lower view of self, that they're able to kind of pull the lens back and see that there's a much bigger world than what they think, what they want, what they feel. That entitlement says, mine, this is what I want, these are my desires. And as moms, we just have to never let that thrive. We've got to nip it in the bud. We have to make no excuses for this. And this is where I think it's hard for us as moms. No excuses for entitlement. I gave a gift to a 6-year-old boy a couple years ago, and we were a little low on money that year, so it was a small gift, and apparently it was not what he wanted, because he opened it, he pushed it aside, crossed his arms, and turned away. And I was looking at his mother, who was sitting right next to him, and she just looks at me and says, oh, he's so tired. And I was like, oh, again, I probably shouldn't say the things that first come to my mind, but I was like, oh, he's tired. I just thought he was selfish and not grateful. I mistook it. It was so appalling. I'm like, he's tired? That's totally acceptable if you're tired? This is how people become the taco ladies, moms. We can't let this happen. We cannot make excuses for our kids when they elevate themselves, when they have that selfish mentality. No excuses. And it's exhausting because we have to look for it and nip it every time we see it in our kids. And it's so much easier to ignore or make excuses, but we can't. Here are some things that I did with my girls that have been helpful, and I hope they'll be helpful to you as well. Just practically speaking, how do you do this? For me, number one, it was my home is the training ground where I'm going to foster this attitude in them. Home is where they're safe, where they're most free, where they're most comfortable, and where they are most themselves. Home is where this attitude is going to come out first and most. And so when I determined in my heart that my home was the no entitlement zone, that I was going to create a hostile environment for you elevating yourself, it was helpful. Because it wasn't long before my girls realized I can't act like that around mom. I can't. And when they're little, mom is everywhere, right? Your home is the no-fly zone for entitlement. And another version of that we adopted in our home was no bragging. No bragging. And kids are so good at this. It's often subtle. It's kind of insidious. I don't know if your kids are like mine, but it often takes form in the competition thing. Mom, who draws better, me or her? Mom, who runs faster, me or her? Mom, who does this better, me or her? And I'm not saying that in your house it's like, oh, everybody always is a winner. No one's ever better at anything. No. There are people that are going to be better than your kids. It's good for them to lose the game, not come in first. That is so true. But what I want to do is recognize that desire in my child, holding up her picture and saying, which one's better? All I'm hearing is, I think I'm awesome. What do you think, Mom? And I'm never going to affirm that. I'm never going to say, oh yes, honey, you're the best. No one's better than you. I want to be able to recognize that hard attitude and kind of help redirect it. Such a pretty picture. You know who else has a pretty picture? Your friend, your sister, whoever. And they can genuinely be happy for someone else who wins the game or runs faster than them or whatever it is, because their worth has, no bearing on the other person having something good as well. Sometimes our desire to affirm and love our kids often kind of gets tangled up in maybe feeding this self-importance that we shouldn't feed. And here's an example. This is what I mean. What happens when your kid's in elementary school and tries out for the play or whatever it is, the Christmas musical at church, and doesn't get the part? It can be heartbreaking when your little one has spent so many weeks practicing and preparing, and they get up there and they sing their little heart out and they come home and they didn't get it. And I've been in that boat, looking at my little one crying, being heartbroken and embarrassed. And if I let myself say the first thing that comes to my mind in an attempt to make them feel better, because your heart is broken with them, you might be tempted to say things like, Sally shouldn't have got that part. You're better at singing. You're the best dancer there is. You're number one. And all that does is just inflate the very thing we're trying to crush. They can be happy for their friend and they can move on with their life, and it's not always about them being number one, being the best. Other people sometimes are just going to be better, and it is good. When we allow that self-importance, that entitlement, like I deserve the part, I deserve, cheese on my tacos, that's going to ultimately breed disunity. It's going to cause fights. It's going to cause fights with their siblings. It's going to cause fights with their friends. And ultimately, it's going to be an attitude that's going to continue to cause disunity down the road. And we want to just nip it in the bud. And one of the ways we do that is what the Bible says. We are not to be conceited, not to provoke one another, and not to envy one another. We can teach our kids to share. Teach them to share. You can reward humility in your home when you see it, which is the opposite of entitlement. And that's in their words, nice things that they say about others, not just nice things they say about themselves, and also in the things that they do, to teach them to share. And something I did with my girls, and it was so effective. It was awesome. Every time I heard the word mine, I'd be up and running for wherever they were, and I would take away the thing that they were, hoarding for themselves, rip it out of their hands, put it in the arms of whoever they were trying to keep it from, and then make them say, yours. And it was so good. Little tears, just looking at that thing getting forcibly taken from them and looking at their friend being yours. And it was so good. It was so good for them to hear the opposite thing happening and realizing that if I had just shared, I'd still be holding that right now. Not, getting ripped away from you and having to share. At the root of that, it's the attitude of envy is what causes that. No one touched my stuff, and I don't want you to have what's mine. It's kind of the dual-edged sword of envy. And it pops up in our kids. It's rooted in entitlement, and it is the opposite of gratitude. When we see that kind of attitude, that fighting me first, I don't want to share, that's envy. And again, that's one of those things we've got to recognize it, find it, and root it out so that gratitude can grow. I wrote it this way for your second point. Again, sorry for the ease. Exchange envy for contentment. And you do this by caring for others. Exchange envy for contentment. Envy is the enemy of gratitude, but contentment, that's where it grows, right there. The Bible says that we should look out not just to our own interests, but also to the interests of others. So when we see it in our kids, we've got to force them to share. And possibly that means putting them in situations where they have no choice but to share. Put them in KBC, take them to Sunday school, do play dates at friends' houses and at your house, take them to the park, whatever it is, expose them to other kids where they have to share. And personally, I think when they have to share each other's sacred spaces, their bedrooms, their stuff, that is like the best training ground because it's hard. It's hard to have somebody else in your room touching your lammy. That is rough. And to be able to share it is so good. Or to go to your friend's house and to see the toy that you wish you had and you don't have, and you get to play with it and you have to leave it behind. Brutal. But it's so good because then as a mom, you could say, isn't that fun that you got to play with, whatever this is? How great. I'm so happy that he has that Hot Wheel track that you wish you had. It's so good for our kids to acknowledge good things and then also be thankful for what they have. So-and-so loved playing with Lammy. Isn't that so good that God gave you Lammy? It is so good to teach them that. And this is the attitude that crops up when we're trying to teach them to share and we're trying to nip envy in the bud. It's whining and complaining, isn't it? Whining and complaining. You guys have littles. You know the sound of whining, and it's hideous. We cannot let it happen. We've got to nip it in the bud. No whining, no complaining. And ultimately, this is where it gets hard. We have to model it for them. We have to model it for them. If you want your kids to be grateful, you've got to ask yourself, what do they hear when they're at home? Do they hear mom whining about the laundry or complaining that the cabinets are, I don't know, the wrong color or the carpet is stained? Or do they hear mom regularly talking about the things that she's so grateful for? Namely, I'm so grateful I get to be your mom. That's the best gift. That's the best. If they hear you talking about what you're thankful for, they're going to understand what gratitude is. They're little. They need to see it visually, and that's the tough part. You're the visual. You have to be the one to show them what it looks like. And when you do, there's such payoff because you're going to teach them. They've got to use their words to speak what they're grateful for. And also to say kind things in the family as well. Part of the no bragging situation, and the same thing we see here, use your words to build others up. Say something nice about your sister. Say it every day. My husband implemented this in our home, and it's really sweet. My daughter is 13, and it's still happening. She's just every day, oh, I like your hair. Oh, your sweater's so nice. It's such a good habit. And when that happens, the beautiful thing is it kind of takes the bragging thing down because when your home is full of love and affirmation from others, you're way less tempted to praise yourself. And so it's just a good thing. And honestly, part of the way that we can encourage this too is helping your kids see the world as bigger than them, is helping them see the world through another person's lens of maybe somebody who doesn't have what they have. Help them to see that they have so much compared to others who don't have what they have. We did Operation Christmas Child for years when my girls were little. And I'll never forget, we showed a video to our girls of these sweet little girls in a village somewhere that had never seen a baby doll. And Emmy, my nurturer, was horrified. These girls don't have babies. And you're supposed to put like lots of different items in the box so it's more fun. And I just laughed. I was like, Operation Christmas Child can figure this out when they get this box. It was just a baby doll shoved in there and taped together. That's all Emmy wanted to send. And I was so happy about it because she wasn't saying the words, I'm so grateful for my baby doll. But that's exactly what she was communicating. She had something that she loved, and she recognized not everybody has that thing that I love, and she wanted to share it. She was grateful for her doll. That was learned because she had to look through the lens of another and try to meet a need. And we can do that in all kinds of ways. It doesn't have to be Operation Christmas Child. It can be things like even making dinner for another family. Get them involved. They're going to need you to do something kind for another person so that they can do it too. They're going to need to see your example of sharing and loving and giving to others and recognizing that there are others who don't have what we have, and let's be generous and share. And when you do that and model that for them and bring them along, it is going to be so worth the effort. My mom used to do this. She was the master at it. My mom's like the original doorbell ding dong ditcher, is that what they call it? I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, there was some families that didn't have much and she didn't want them to know where it came from. So she would put baskets together and cellophane them nice and pretty. And if you know me, you know I dearly love cellophane. So she taught us to do that. We make a pretty basket, we put it on the porch, and then we would leave. And I just thought it was the sweetest, funnest thing. And it taught me early, it's fun to give gifts to others. It's fun. You can teach your kids the same thing. And it can be in all kinds of little ways, but it's so important because when they can get their focus off of themselves and onto others, right there, ladies, it's like you've just pulled all the weeds out of the garden. Now gratitude can grow. When you get rid of the things that fight gratitude, the self-importance, the entitlement, the envy, when you clear them out, now you've got fertile soil for gratitude. And gratitude is a mindset. It's got to be something you choose, that you work through. And I don't know about you, but I don't just wake up in the morning just overwhelmed with gratitude. I have to choose it. My kids got to choose it. We all have to choose it. So this is how I want to write it for your last point. We all need to cultivate gratitude by choosing the right perspective. Perspective is the way we think. This is where it starts. I was curious what Google said gratitude was. These are the top 2 hits if you're curious what the definition of gratitude is online. I'll save you a trip there. Dictionary.com says, gratitude is the quality of being thankful. Sometimes when you read definitions, aren't you just like, who writes these? Duh. Anyways, it's the readiness to show appreciation for and return kindness. And then vocabulary.com said this. This was my favorite. Gratitude means thanks and appreciation. It's the warm feeling you get when someone helps you figure out a great solution to a difficult problem that you are trying to solve. And I actually have to say I agree with vocabulary.com. Isn't it interesting that in both cases, gratitude is a response? It's a response. I think sometimes in our culture, gratitude is like this ethereal, like you and the universe, half glass full. I'm a positive person. I keep a gratitude journal. I list my blessings. I'm like, please do that. That's great. Don't be a miser. But it's more than just this feeling of positivity. It's a response, and it's always directed at an object. And I think we get gratitude so wrong sometimes because we like to think of it as an attitude when it's more than that. It's a response. And it begs the question, grateful to who? Grateful to who? And so when we're trying to teach our kids gratitude, we need to ask that same question. What are you grateful for? That's great, but to who are you grateful for? And practically speaking, right off the bat, if we're going to teach our kids to be grateful, practically, this means eye contact. This means looking at a person and saying, thank you. I recognize something good is happening to me, and it's because of you. Like my teacher giving me fruit snacks, the lady filling my cup with water at the restaurant. This is from you. Thank you. And again, we model that, don't we? How do you treat the waitress when she fills your water up? How do you treat people when you're given a gift? Hopefully there's eye contact and a thanks said. Not just some, thank you out to outer space when somebody gives you a gift. Like, you ever given a gift to someone and they're ripping the paper off and their mom's like, say thanks, and they don't even look at you or stop, and they're like, thanks, and they throw it out there? Do you get that warm feeling vocabulary was talking about? No, because that's not gratitude. That's just a word. Gratitude is directed. It's specific. It's made eye contact. And if there's no eye contact to be made, the dreaded thank you notes. My kids hate them. And I'm going to be honest, so do I. But you know what? It is so good. It's so good to take a minute, sit down, and take a pen and write more than thanks, love, Emmy. Thanks for what? This is something that was given to you, money, time, energy, something, and you benefited from it. The least you can do is form a couple of sentences, take a break, pause, and say thank you. That's gratitude. It's a response, and it's always directed somewhere, not just some ethereal emotion that we feel. And ultimately, I think we get gratitude wrong because it is a response, and so often we miss the whole point. That there is one to whom we should be grateful, that all of our gratitude should be aimed at, and so often we detach him from all of this, and that's to God. And I love that the Bible is so clear about what God is like, and that God, in his kindness, did something remarkable. It says that Jesus became a man for us. Although being equal with God, he didn't grasp that as something, but he left it behind and became a man. He took on the form of a human for us. It is Jesus who lived the perfect life, who died the death we deserved, and even rose again. It sealed the deal. It's Jesus who gave us the option to have the best gift ever. And really, again, vocabulary.com got it right. Talk about a problem being solved for you. You bet. The biggest problem you ever had, and maybe even still have, is that you're separated from God because of sin, and Jesus came and took it away. He dealt with it on your behalf. What a gift. If you are in Christ, you have so much to be grateful for now and forever because he's given you eternal life. That right there, that's where gratitude begins. And if that's really actually true, there's no greater example of humility. There's no greater thing that we could be grateful for than what Christ has done. And it does change everything. If you're really honest with yourself and you think about the fact that God has lovingly saved you from your sin, you're far less likely to sit down and think about how awesome you are, right? It's humbling, and it should be. It's a good thing. You're not going to be a braggart. You're not going to be entitled when you really think about God saving you and being grateful for that salvation. When you think about the fact that everything you have, including the air that's coming in and out of our lungs right now, is a gift from God. And no matter if life is good or bad or hard or easy or whatever, there's always something to be thankful for. And that comes from God. Then we're far more likely to be content with the good that we have if we can see it rightly for what it is. It's pretty remarkable that is our reality, that our God is so good and so kind, and he's given us that, and that is what gratitude is. This isn't just being more positive. This isn't just being more thankful. This is realizing, really, that this happens because the living God has given you richly everything to enjoy through Christ. That is amazing, and that is why we should look at what we have, see our blessings, count them up, absolutely, and then aim our gratitude straight at him. Because he is the source of everything good. He is the object of my gratitude. He is the source of everything I have. He is the reason for it. And if that's really the mindset, it will change your perspective, and you can teach it to your kids, and it will change their perspective too. It's hard fought, but it does happen. And I will tell you, I've seen progress in my own girls' lives. I'll tell you a story because I'll never forget it, where I saw this happen. A couple years ago, my teenaged cousin was getting rid of her American Girl dolls. I have 2 girls. I swooped in. I rescued them. And like I said, my girls, Emmy in particular, her dolls are her babies. They're her daughters. They are, sitting at the table with us. They're in the car with us, like the whole bit. Wouldn't you know, years go by, my cousin gets married, my cousin gets pregnant, my cousin's gonna have a baby shower, and she's having a girl. And I knew the right thing to do. She would never ask for those dolls back, but I knew she wanted them. So I made my girls give them back. And I told them it was the right thing to do, and it was brutal. I told them, we need to give these babies back to Brittany. They're not our babies, they're Brittany's babies. And my little one, I was really proud of her. She was the one that said, let's go get them new clothes at Target, and we got them all cleaned up. And we went to the shower, and I asked them, I was like, girls, go thank Brittany for letting you have those babies for so long. Those are her babies. Thank her for all those good memories you had. And I still cry when I think about it. We got in the car, and we all 3 cried. It was horrible. It was such a hard day. But I was so proud of them because they were able to recognize this is a thing, and it's a good thing, and it's a gift. And it's good for me to do what is right and realize that the world doesn't revolve around me. There are other people more important than me. It's a thing that I got to share. It's all so good. All those things where I've been trying to teach them about what gratitude is. And I watched it actually work. They did it and they smiled. We cried, but we did it. And it was so good because that character was so important to me, and I saw it happen. And then the next day, I'm not kidding, the next day, Julie Block, which some of you may know, called me and she said, hey, my girls are cleaning out their closets. Any chance they'd be interested in some American Girl dolls? I was like, you're kidding, right? So she came to my house and brought 4 American Girl dolls in the boxes and like more accessories than I had ever seen. And I cried like a little girl and just looked at my daughters. I'm like, do you see what God just did? Do you see this? He literally doubled, tripled what you had. And my girls learned such a good lesson that day. They were so grateful for those babies that I still have because they had just parted with their others. They would not be very grateful if they still had their dolls inside. They'd probably be tempted to say thank you out into outer space. But because they had just gone through what they went through, they were so grateful. It was the hard lesson of doing the right thing and putting themselves last that made them able to be grateful in the way that I was hoping for. And that right there is what the prize was, not the double dolls. And God doesn't always work like that, obviously. It's not like we teach our kids, yeah, share your Hot Wheel and tomorrow you'll get 5 more. Like, that is not what we should do. Even as a mom, like, don't do it. Don't do it when you're tempted. Share it, son, then I'll buy you 3. No. It's not how it works. But what I'm trying to get at is that the character that is formed there, when you have them do the hard thing, that's the precious treasure. And that's possible. It's possible to do it with your kids, and it is worth it. It's worth all the exhaustion of being on it, of always just going for the right attitude, nipping the wrong ones in the bud. It's so much work, but it so pays off. I'm seeing it in my girls, and we still have a ton of progress to make. I'm still rowing the teaching your kids to be grateful boat. And I know that you guys are in that same boat with me. And I just hope that you're encouraged to know that forward progress really can be made. I have more to make. I know you guys have more to make. And I think together we really can teach our kids to be grateful. And that's exactly what I'm praying that we do this season. So I'm grateful to get to be here with you guys. And I really do hope you have a great time in groups and a really great Thanksgiving. Thanks for letting me join you.